Greetings, everyone. Today is December 3rd, 2016, and I want to talk to you about the Chintamani stone. I was on Gaia TV that I strongly recommend. I love Gaia TV. It is a subscription site, so I'm not going to be showing you pieces of this video, but I'm just showing you this scene here to show you which one I was looking at. It's called The Quest for the Chintamani Stone by Claire and William Henry. It's from their Arcanum series. And again, I can't recommend enough the whole Gaia TV, but this show is really good. At least it was for me. And it's really worth 1 month's subscription because you can't do that just to watch this one show. So that's my plug for that. I did take some screenshots from the show because I really want to talk about this. So I hope that that's all right. And let me move this up a bit so you can see the picture better. Okay, what we see here is William Henry showing us the pictures of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, of course, former president of the U.S., Roerich, I can never say his name quite correctly, Nicholas Roerich, the mystic and artist, and Henry Wallace, who was the Secretary of Agriculture under Franklin Roosevelt. What do they have in common? Well, William Henry is talking about the fact that Franklin Roosevelt asked Henry Wallace, or they got together on it, let's say, to contact Nicholas Roerich to search for certain ancient items in the Himalayas. The reason being that the Nazis were after these same items. And one main one was the Chintamani stone, which was said to hold the power of manifestation and of world domination, if you could say that, if one chose to use it in that way. Now, this sounds highly fantastic, but I am a student of FDR. In my earlier years, I read everything I could get my hands on about him. And he was really quite a mystic. Oh, I don't mean a card-carrying one. He had to be very careful. He was a good Christian fellow. But he was involved, for instance, in putting money into searching Oak Island, one of the very first to do that, at least in the 20th century. So he got around esoterically, but very much undercover. He didn't let these things be known, probably not even to his immediate family. Now, Henry Wallace was quite an esoteric guy, and so the two of them got together on this, and I don't know the whole story, and apparently William Henry doesn't either, but there's a letter to prove some of this, and he presents this letter here. Now, let's see if I can read a little bit of it, or all of it, rather. This is March 12th, 1933. Now, Henry Wallace is writing Roerich in this letter, and he says, I've been thinking of you holding the casket. Now, the Chintamani stone is supposed to be, there's not just one stone, first of all. There's several stones, and they came off a meteor. And so he's talking about this one particular one. I've been thinking of you holding the casket, the sacred and most precious casket, and I have thought of the new country going forth to meet the 7 stars under the sign of the 3 stars. The 7 stars would be the Pleiades, and the 3 stars are Orion. And I have thought of the admonition, await the stone. We await the stone, and we welcome you again to this glorious land of destiny, meaning the United States, clouded though it may be with strange fumbling fears. Who shall hold up the compelling vision to those who wander in darkness. In answer to this question, we again welcome you to drive out depression, to drive out fear. We think of the people of northern Shambhala and the hastening feet of the buccaneer of Buddha and the lightning flashes and the breaking of the new day. And so I await your convenience, prepared to do what I am here to do. May peace and joy and fire attend you always, G. And according to William Henry, he signed it G because Helena Roerich, the wife of Nicholas, used to call Henry Wallace Galahad. In the great haste of this strange maelstrom, which is Washington. And of course, this was during the deep into the Depression, and I would say this was the first year of FDR's presidency. And it was a very dark time in the United States of America. I think we can compare right now is an equally dark time in 2016 of December. This is a statue of Nicholas Roerich, who was a Russian, and he's holding the box, the casket that contains the Chintamani stone, or at least a fragment of it. This is his wife, Helena Roerich, and the two of them together made quite an incredible pair. Now, I'm familiar of the Roerichs, familiar about them, and basically about the Chintamani stone. The information came to me through several friends, and one of them asked commissioned me to do an artwork that represented the consciousness of all of this, not the stone itself, which I did. And I went to Thoth. I got some basic information on it. And I'm going to skip over to that right now before we go further with this particular video, The Quest of the Chintamani Stone. All right, here's what I wrote about it some years ago. Probably about, 5 or 6 years ago, no longer than that. It would be maybe 8 years ago. And this is the image that I created for her. It's rather esoteric, and I won't go into the image itself, but I have the stone, or a likeness of the stone thereof, embedded into the pillar there that is not fallen. The feminine pillar is fallen, and the masculine is standing. So I want to read to you a little bit. Well, I want to read all of it. It's rather short. The Midnight Sunstone, which are the Chintamani. A meteor sent from Orion via a specific trajectory to strike the Earth. It arrived on this planet 12,582 years ago. It is a primary seeding for recalibrating the magnetic charge of the planet. Its frequency is that of restoring the fallen pillar in the Temple of Wisdom. It is a stone of the Tetragrammaton, the lost word, sound, or vibration. Thoth calls this stone the Lapis Elixis. And he has given me information on the Lapis Elixis before, which is the same thing. Again, there's many pieces of it all over the place, but not many, but, a nice amount. But we're talking about it as one item here because it came as one meteor. Although to esoteric author Corinne Helene, the Tetragrammaton, according to her, the Tetragrammaton is derived from the Greek, and its meaning is 4 letters. These letters, IHVI, also Yod, He, Vav, He, stand as code for the name of the deity, which no human can pronounce. The being Dionysus was the light that shineth in darkness, or the mystic midnight sun. Well, at this moment, I'm pausing to think, what does Dionysus have to do with this? Let's continue. Hiram-Babif, incarnation of Thoth Hermes, was the master builder of the Temple of Solomon. He was also an initiate of the Diagnostic, here we go, also known as Adonis, mysteries. Corinne Helene tells us that Hiram bestowed the to the masters in Jerusalem the Tetragrammaton, or lost word. It was this lost word which Moses engraved on a plate of gold. According to tradition, the Tetragrammaton had originally been revealed to Enoch by God. Enoch was taken to a high mountain where he beheld the radiant inscribed triangle, and then down into the subterranean place where once again the golden triangle was seen by him after having descended through 9 arches. At a later time, Hiram would construct the temple with 9 arches, just as was revealed to him in the vision. Enoch concealed under the ninth arch was a duplicate of the golden triangle with the Tetragrammaton lost word upon it. Helene states that the true name is unpronounceable by the human tongue until the day when humanity enters a higher state of consciousness. The mystery equivalent of the unpronounceable name is I am that I am. The pillars of the temple. 2 pillars of brass were cast by Hiram-Abiff and placed on the porch of Solomon's temple. These pillars are esoterically referred to as Jachin, pillar of strength, and Boaz, pillar of beauty. They are male-female representations of equilibrium. However, the feminine pillar, Boaz, is said to have fallen, to rise once again one day when balance is restored in the Temple of Solomon, or the Temple of Wisdom, When the 2 columns find equilibrium between them, it will signify the union of the Sushumna and the Kundalini. This sacred marriage will create a fire mist to radiate through the human body, filling it with divine light. It is then that humanity will become the 3rd column of the temple wisdom. She will be a column formed by the combined forces of strength, Jachin, and beauty, Boaz. This act forms the lost word in the vibratory system of the soul's physical embodiment. Now, it is from my Akashic insight that the Midnight Sunstone meteor contains the encoding of the Tetragrammaton that will release through the magnetic field of the earth the sound which will open the centers of the brain in order for humanity to speak the word. I also believe that below the Tetragrammaton, in the subterranean vault, is one of the Midnight Sunstones, another one being in the Temple of Solomon. It is the Kabbalah of Mecca, and other key associations on this planet. This stone is in our frequency range and can help us to move into more refined electromagnetic zones ever closer to the range of the new Earth star. Now, it's important to realize that, as it says, this stone is in our frequency range. Once it touched the planet, it entered the planet and came into our frequency range. So you don't have to go out and try to find a stone and hold on to the stone in order to tap this. You can do it other ways. The magnetic alignment properties of the Midnight Sunstones work to balance the magnetic poles of the Earth, and thus the electromagnetic stones, which must be recalibrated before the time of the midnight sun, a stage of the planetary ascension in the new Earth star. If you go to this page, which I'll embed with other things along with the video, you will be able to click on this and read more about that particular planetary phase. While the Midnight Sunstones are not celestar, that's another kind of stone I was talking about at the time, they open a path through the electromagnetic zones to their energy presence. The Tahu Cross, seen in the artwork above on the Pillar of Strength, it is formed from the letter T, which is the last letter in the Hebrew alphabet. There is a great deal of mystery around this symbol from Thoth through me perspective. It is an ancient Lemurian symbol, also used in the Temple of Atlantis to represent the balance of the middle path or way. That way is, of course, the equilibrium of the 2 pillars of the temple wisdom meeting in awakened humanity. Corrine Helene relates that the Tahu is the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, represents the consummation of the 7 stages of cosmic evolution in the world. She further states that the apocryphal Masonic legends refer to the Book of Tahu and the symbolic T as having come from Methuselah, the descendant of Cain, it was Hiram-Abiff, the master architect of Solomon's temple, who journeyed into the inner earth to receive the knowledge with which he constructed the most magical properties of the temple. Helene Alt tells us that the Book of Tahu were actual historical records and secrets of the craft of the Sons of Fire, which also include the mysteries pertaining to Earth's center. These mysteries Hiram had received initiation in from his ancestor Tubal-Cain when he went into the interior of the planet. Of course, we're talking about inner Earth here. From Thoth Hiram-Abiff, I received that Tubal-Cain was an inner Earth master, and Hiram had been given entry into the inner Earth to receive the power of his path from his ancestor Tubal-Cain. The Sons of Fire was an inner Earth race, and the books of Tahu, their history and mysteries. The Midnight Sunstones hold the frequency of the Sons of Fire from Orion, and their plight upon the earth of restoring the temple wisdom. The Midnight Sunstones were also called Chintamani. And so that's what I have there. Now, when I rekindled my own fire in coming across the video I just watched the other day from William and Claire Henry, of course, I ran right back to this page and read what I have here. Here's another screenshot from from William and Claire Henry's video, The Quest for the Chintamani Stone. And it says, in his published writings, Rorik's, he notes that the stone is so powerful that it has to be stored between two lithium pillars. Well, here we have the two pillars. And lithium, according to Thoth, is a major, major powerful energy on this planet. And lithium crystals are far more connected to that whole frequency than our quartz crystals. Of course, quartz crystals are pretty fantastic, but he really cites lithium as being that which can access these higher realms even more. Okay, now this is the part that I really got excited about. 3 balls in a ring of eternity, said to represent the past, the present, and the future. They also represent the Chintamani. Now, I had not known this before until I saw this video yesterday. Here again, the Chintamani is symbolized by the 3 triangulated dots in a pyramid formation or triple dots. Here we have it on the cloth of the Virgin that was painted by Rorik. It's in his museum in New York City. Now, I had seen this picture many years ago and loved it, but I had no idea what it represented, who painted it, or what it was about. I just loved the picture. Here we have the Cloak of Hermes, aka Thoth, and you can see he's highlighted here that it's hard to see, but there's the little Chintamani marks there on the Cloak of Hermes. This is where it gets really exciting, folks. Are you ready? Here we go. Here's Thoth, the picture I did of Thoth. This is done in my old Poser days when I used Poser to create my images. And, you know, it's not perfect likeness because I'm using Poser and I have my limitations. But if you pass Thoth on the street, Thoth Racemus of Afra, that Thoth incarnation, you would probably recognize him from this image. But the important part is what's on his forehead. Now, Thoth told me, and this was many, many, many years ago when I first started working with Thoth, that he had 3 birthmarks in this, 3 birthmarks on his forehead like this, but he covered them. He anointed them. I shouldn't say covered. He anointed them with these little dots. I don't know if these were tattoos or little, like the East Indians do, just little painted dots he put on his forehead. But this is what he wore over the actual birthmarks. That's the Chintamani. There it is. right there on his forehead. And it's also on the logo that he has wearing around his neck that I have here, that I did many years ago as well. Well, I knew about this emblem. I did this symbol probably in the early 2000. I did this image, but I knew about this symbol. The symbol itself he gave me many, many years ago, and this is his symbol of, that he used. I don't know how he used it, but he put it on things, whatever. But the dots come off of the Chintamani on his forehead. Okay, let's see here. So here we have from the Quest of the Chintamani Stone, we have a picture of Jesus, Yeshua, with the Chintamani marks on all over the place. See on his Bible there. And actually, I think they're on the corners up here as well. Now, here we have it again. This is a painting by Nicholas Roerich. And he was told to go to a certain place in the Himalayas to be able to retrieve the box, the casket with the Chintamani in it, or just the Chintamani stones, and he put him in the casket. I'm not exactly sure. I'm going by memory here from this video that I just saw. I do recall hearing about Roerich carrying the Chintamani stone out in a casket some years ago. So that part wasn't fresh information. But this painting, and here we have the three symbols, the triangulated dots of the Chintamani that he placed on this image, because he said that he rode a white horse to that place, and it was so sacred he had to send the horse in instead of him. Well, of course, this is metaphorical, the white horse going in to retrieve the stones, or the stone. But Helena Roerich, is that her name? Yes. Speaks about this stone as the white stone that came from Orion. And of course, I just read you that Thoth says it came from Orion. Now, in all the other literature I can find, it says it came from Sirius. And Sirius is depicted and mentioned in the video along with this. And of course, the 7 stars would be the Pleiades. Well, there you have the triad that Thoth speaks of. Orion, Sirius, and the Pleiades. He says that's the triad of the whole Earth creational vector. So I'm sticking with Orion, the meteorite having come from Orion, but maybe it made a swing around, or energetically it went through Sirius too, because Sirius is mentioned as the place where these stones come from, but Helena says they come from Orion, and I'm sticking with her because that's what Thoth says. Okay, so we go. Here's a sacred blue halo above the casket warrants its powerful arrival, watched by sentinels etched in the rocks, guarding the procession as the horse leaves the cave and descends the mountain. All very symbolic, and there's another painting by Roerich depicting this. And here we have Roerich carrying the casket out in his higher self embodiment that has the Chintamani stone. But above, and the Clares have highlighted this, you see the belt of Orion. Now, before we go to that one, we're going to stay on this one a minute. Actually, I want to move on to another page. I happened to find this page today. And again, it says it came from the Sirius system, which is the popular understanding of it. And it is quite possible it came through Sirius, but it came from Orion. We have all of these that are all connected, so energetically, I'm not knocking that it could have come from Sirius on its way from Orion to Earth. And this talks about it being much older here than Thoth says. He says 12,000 something years ago. This says 26,000 years ago. The Argotherians were guardians of the CINTAMANI stones. So, there's a difference in time here, but time is kind of hard to pin down, because we have all these different timelines going on. But the part that really interested me here, it says the dark forces from Inquisition to Jesuits to Hitler were trying to get a piece of the CINTAMANI into their distorted hands unsuccessfully. I do believe that is true. CINTAMANI is the sacred stone of the Brotherhood of the Star, the last true remnant of the mystery schools of light from Atlantis. Many light workers and light warriors belong to the mandala of 144,000 star beings of light who came to planet Earth many incarnations ago to assist in the liberation of this planet and shift the ages. And then they go into, since the opening of the IS portal in December 2014, I'm not aware of that, but sounds good to me, light is flowing from the galactic central sun, steered through the facets of the Moldavite chalice of the Holy Grail, which serves as a lens direct to the 44,000 to trigger their awakening. Now, Thoth says, that it's the Lapis elixir too. So I'm wondering, and I'm going to go to Thoth and ask him before the end of this video, if maybe there were several stages, several meteors coming forth that are the Chintamani, that are the Lapis elixirs, not just one meteor, that there were more than one. So that's my question, and I'm going to ask before this video is over. Chintamani stone is the next step in this energy process. Goes on about that, but there was something else that I wanted to mention here, and I don't see it. Oh, somewhere here. Here it is. Is this it? King Solomon, Alexander Great, and Akbar possessed pieces of the stone. Here it is. Here it is. This is the part. Later, the same piece was given to a certain Templar group near Untersberg, and then to the Viral Grid girls, I don't know who they are, who channeled the technological know-how for the first working space program on the surface of the planet since the fall of Atlantis. Okay, this is the main part that interested me on this page, was the Templar group. As all of you know, well, I don't know if all of you know, but many of you know, I've recently been given a priory in the true order of the Templars and Templar Solomon. And this priory, Thoth gave the name to me, is to be called Priory of the White Stone, which relates to the White Stone path, White Stone, Red Stone, Red Grail, White Stone, Red Blooded path. And this material was given to me many years ago. I'll have a link along with this video. And this was the reason it was given that name, the White Path, the White Stone, also related to the Philosopher's Stone, which, according to Rorik and the information I've been seeing here, also relates to the Chintamani stone. It is said that the Chintamani stone was white until it fell to the ground and then became black. And Helena Rorik calls the Chintamani stone the White Stone. So it all ties together. I just want to go back to this picture again because I really love it. It fascinates me. And it was at this point in the video that William Henry spoke about the Chintamani stone being called the White Stone by Helena. And the white horse. And I know the white horse is a strong symbol of purity and higher spiritual consciousness. There's no question about that. And I did have a dream just the other night not a dream, actually it was a vision, but it was at night, where I saw a woman standing by a white horse, and she was smiling beautifully, and I just felt like she was me. I don't know if she really was me, but there was that closeness of essence, like my higher self coming to me. And it could have meant a lot of different things, but right now I'm thinking it might have been quickening me to this whole white horse experience with the white stone, the Priory of the white stone, the Chintamani, the, just all of it coming together here. And so on the quest of the Chintamani stone, William Henry brings this screen up. He says, circumstantial evidence says that Roerich found something of immense significance on that trip that FDR and Henry Wallace sent him on, or were part of. Maybe they helped finance it, I don't know. That evidence is on the back of the $1 bill. In 1934, FDR ordered the Great Seal of the U.S. stamped on the dollar. This was done at the request of Henry A. Wallace and Nicholas Roerich. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on about, oh my gosh, Illuminati, Illuminati, Illuminati. Oh, the evil, wicked Illuminati are on our dollar bill. Money's evil. Here it is, proof of it. Well, I don't believe that because Thoth has tutored me to not believe it, and it makes sense to me what I received from him. This is a very sacred symbol. It has nothing to do with Illuminati, just like the Nazi symbol, the swastika, really has nothing to do with Nazis until they took it over and used it for that. So if the Illuminati took this and used it for their stuff, well, okay, but that has nothing to do with why FDR placed it here and why it is the seal of the United States. It was developed through sacred insight. And it was through sacred insight that FDR put it on the dollar bill. He was trying to kind of doctor up the money, you know what I mean, in a positive way. True, money, we should never have money. The monetary system is something of the orotronic half-light spectrum, and it's really been our bane, and we need to get rid of it. But we do have it. And while it's here, I think Nicholas Roerich and Henry Wallace and FDR thought it was a very good idea to try to clean it up a little bit, put some light into it. And so that's why they put it on the $1 bill. One, the symbol of I am that I am. While it was commissioned on July 4th, 1776 and created in 1782, it was rarely used in public until FDR made it one of the most ubiquitous symbols in human history. Now here we're looking at a cornerstone of this building that Roerich had built in New York City that held his museum and all kinds of things. And Roerich was there and, for years and years. It is reported that he buried his little piece of the Chintamani stone here, right here, in this cornerstone, which, could be a very powerful and beautiful thing to do. But Roerich came to all kinds of bad circumstances once he got into that building. It's a long story, and I won't go into it here. You can hear it on this quest for the Chintamani stone. And I'm kind of wondering if maybe he shouldn't have buried it there. That's just my take on it, not those. But the thought crossed my mind that once he placed the stone in that position, perhaps it wasn't really where it was intended to be. But I don't know that. It was just a thought. So I've been talking with Thoth, so to speak, and looking through some other things I have here. And the best way I can put it together from what I'm receiving at this time is that this meteor, which is really not a meteor as we understand it, it's more than that, came from Orion, also through Sirius, and with some kind of energetic capitulation from the Pleiades, so it came through the star triad. How this happened, how this works, it's not like it's just flying through space and it goes through all these places. It's, some kind of interdimensional thing. But it didn't just arrive in one time. It arrived in several different times. And the ones that are more closely related to the pieces, the fragments, the Chintamani, came in the 12,000 whatever period. But they're really all the same because they're all coming down in different time frames, which makes it really confusing for us little linear-minded people. And it's also the elixis, Lapis elixis, or whatever Thoth calls it. Let's see, what does he call it here? I have it written right here. The elixir of the lapis, a lapis elixis. And that would be the philosopher's stone. That would be the stone that is the Luciferian stone, not in a negative sense, but comes from the light bearer. There's a whole story about that. So we can really put all of these together as one, but depending upon the time frames they came in and the way that they're being used and thought of by the collective consciousness or the esoteric consciousness at the time, gives them sort of different pathways. But it's really all in one, the same thing. It's a gift given, you might say, from Orion, brought through these portals of the triad. The Chintamani has the 3 points. Well, that would be Sirius, Orion, Sirius, and the Pleiades. I mean, that's one way to look at it. Of course, there are other layers to that translation, to be sure. And the Lapis elixis is the Archangel Stone, or the Archangel Crystal. So see, it's just all coming together. Of course, the Archangel Crystal would have probably been the first part of it all to come through, because that one was brought by Melchizedek, Lord Melchizedek from Venus. So it didn't just fly by. It came with him. But again, all is one. It's all from the same crucible. And the one that entered and flew into our experience, that part of its pathway, is really the same thing that Melchizedek brought to Earth. So you have all these different scenarios, but they're all on different timelines. And they all come together in our experiential reality. In a way, this is what I was referring to, that they are calling out there the Mandela effect. But from my Thothic perspective, has to do with the quantum leap of the timelines. And Thoth also refers to the energy of this that was brought to the planet and resides in the planet on these various timelines that all connect. Flows through the veins of the sapphire being. Now, the pure gem being is, the sapphire being is an aspect of the pure gem being. This gets really complicated for our little brains. But the sapphire being is when the body is filled with this particular light blood consciousness. And the pure gem being is the same thing, but it is in the form of our new earth experience. So when Thoth speaks of the sapphire being, he's really speaking of the more ancient expression. When he speaks of the pure gem being, same thing, but he's expressing it more as the new earth version. And again, I mention this here because it connects back to the Chintamani, the Lapis elixir stone, the elixir in the veins, even the Elixis Mundi of our project, light program within the Osiris Arising project. It's all related. Here in this particular text I'm reading in issue 390 of Temple Doors, Only the Archangel Stone beneath the sarcophagus of Torhana within Tor Hill can break the seal on the tomb of the beast. This is referring to, the archons and all of that. This crystal of light cannot be touched by evil so long as it is lodged in the sacred place, for it is flamed by the living heart of a feminine goddess in high initiate, whose blood holds the properties of the sapphire. Torhana's heart, still living in its suspended state, is the grail in matter, containing the elixir of the Lapis, the sapphire being. It is from Torhana's lineage that the grail blood flows through the Egyptian pharaonic house of Akhenaten and the Hebrew house of David, met at this crucible by the Celtic power of Atlantis. These are powerful blood forces when fully awakened to spirit, as they were and are in Torhana. In her bosom is the seed of the race spirits of Zarathustra. She is the forebearer of Joshua ben Joseph, Jesus, and Merlin. Torhana is the ultimate cup, in a living sense, of the Grail, and that is still and with us physically on the earth. It is difficult then to realize the power of the Grail. Is it difficult then to realize the power of the Grail consciousness within the chamber of Torhana? Only a Christed soul could dare to enter this vortex of spiritual light. Yet it is the stone of the Archangel that is the key to the lock of the vaulted beast, for within its mathematics is contained the numerics of releasing all matter-bound energies, both good and evil. Goes on and on. It's quite interesting, and I think I might have read some of this on a previous video. But what we're dealing with here on the planet now is very germane to all of this. I mean, it's obvious. The Vault of the Beast, the Vault of Torhana. We have struck up a deal with the devil, so to speak, and that is all within our consensual reality, because there is no devil, there's no deal, there's no evil in the sense that outside of our own constructed hologram. Certainly, we experience evil on this planet, but that's our experience. So it's all, we need to understand it from that perspective. Even the archons, those speaks of as a cloud. That, a cloud arises from what? It arises from a combustion of some kind. And we are creating that combustion. So all of it is determined by the factor of our experience and our consensual reality within our hologram. That said, we still are having one hell of an experience with it and have had for some time. So back to the topic of the Chintamani stones and all that, relates to with the Lapis Elixis and all the different time frames and the Archangel Stone, all the same one thing, it's like amazing. And we can't focus too strongly on the stones, although the stones exist, or the crystals, we might even say, but on how they relate to, it's not just symbolic. There are stones. This did happen, according to what I received, in these various timeline frames, but it seeded the earth. The earth is rung like a bell with the sound, the sacred tone of this experience, this crucible, this pathing, the stones, the crystals. It's in us. We are sounding them. So we can access them without having to hold a stone in our hands. This is another of Rorik's amazing paintings here. And you can see the disciples gathering in the sacred chamber leading into the inner earth, where they find the Chintamani stone or stones, probably one that's kept there in that chamber for them. Not for them, but in the destiny of time for them to receive. I know this video is getting kind of long. I want to conclude, but there's just some more pieces I'm finding here that I want to share with you. This is from issue 390 of Temple Doors. And quoting from, in this issue, I'm quoting from The Serious Mystery by Robert K. Temple. In this paragraph, in the Epic of Gilgamesh, a dream of Gilgamesh is described where he encounters a heavy star that cannot be lifted despite immense effort. This star descends from heaven to him, as is described as connected with Anu, who is the god of heaven. Gilgamesh is drawn to this heavy star irresistibly in a manner described in a way that seems to hint at a kind of gravitational attraction. The Epic of Gilgamesh refers to the essence of Anu. Remember our Anu-Ka? Possessed by the star. The word rendered as essence is used elsewhere in medical context referring to concentration essence, an intimation of superdense matter, ? This concentrated star essence of Anu was too heavy for Gilgamesh to lift in his dream, unquote. So now I'm saying, in this issue, I also read on that same page that from Anu was an Egyptian name for Osiris. When I then flipped to the previous page, I find, quote, and Gilgamesh also put his teeth in the ground. Gilgamesh somehow derives strength from putting his teeth into the ground, unquote. Okay. Now, I am saying in Temple Doors, issue 390, Thoth says that Gilgamesh thrust the staff of the fifth lord into the ground in the dry lake bed directly over the shard of the meteorite, the same place where I, etherically, was led to enter the staff of Osiris. I had a vision where I was thrusting the staff of Osiris there. This meteorite was a slag of a great explosion of worlds, molten remains of these worlds. Certain such remnants would be highly condensed. Even a small fragment could be greatly magnetized and very heavy. A translation from the Star Dream as given out of the Epic of Gilgamesh. Now this is out of the Epic of Gilgamesh. Quote, Gilgamesh arose to reveal the dream, saying to his mother, my mother, last night I felt happy and walked about among the heroes. There appeared stars in the heaven. The hosts of the heaven fell down toward me. The host of heaven fell down toward me. I tried to lift it, but it was too heavy for me. I tried to move it, but I could not move. The land of Uruk was gathered around it, while the heroes kissed its feet. I put my forehead firmly against it, and they assisted me. I lifted it up and carried it to thee. And another interesting passage, the Irku, the Lapis Lazuli house, the lofty dwelling place, awe-inspiring, its awe and dread are next to heaven. Its shadow is spread over all the lands. Its loftiness reaches heaven's heart. Now I say, the original channeling on the Lapis Sea was brought through the, well, I'm not going to go into that, just a moment. I was told after my Gilgamesh message, they were asked by their guides to work on a Lapis Sea that extended under a region in Iraq into a mountain in Iran. Thoth put the Grail shards under the Lake of Lakes, within the Lapis Sea. Okay, this goes on and on. I won't go into that. Thoth indicates that this Lapis, this great sea star from which the Archangel Stone was taken, and the Chintamani and all of these, was a collision of many worlds. I would like to really ask him about that, what he meant by the collision of many worlds. He is stating to me now that it is a condensation energy of many worlds coming together out of the higher spectrum of the, the star suns. It's not just from Orion. It came from Orion, but it's hard to explain. I mean, it's hard to even imagine what I'm feeling about what he's saying. In other words, He's not saying anything. The experience out of the Thoth intelligence that I'm feeling. I'm trying to put into words, but it's really almost beyond words. But there's a gathering of these many worlds of consciousness as a collision, because it came together as a fiery force that was drawn together. And out of that fiery force came this stone, this meteorite, whatever. And it was brought down in several different ways, in several different timelines, coming together in one reality experience, so that we remember it or can visualize it or can sense it in all these different formats. So how do we access this? How can, or are we intended to? And how does it work for us? The actual, energies of these stones and possessing the stones, this has to do with, the dark and the light each side trying to get a piece of the action, so to speak. And certainly the Archangel Stone is identified as that. And I would like to stress here also, this is kind of a bit out of context, but I'll forget it if I don't mention it now. There's so much emphasis put on Mary Magdalene in our age and time. We've got the Magdalene cults everywhere, and I adore Mary Magdalene, and her energies are profound. But very little really comes about Mary, Mother Mary. And really, Thoth says that these two souls are distinctly two different souls, but they have layered together in various lifetimes. So energetically, they really represent the sacred Mary and together, and there's the three Marys. There's Mary Martha, but I'm not sure how she relates to the picture, so I'm not going to get into that right now. But we see Mother Mary is holding this incredibly powerful role in her Torhana suspension with the actual Archangel Stone, the one that Melchizedek brought to earth, underneath her sarcophagus. So I just want to make mention of that, because she should be brought out more in her understanding and how she relates to all of this, and how she relates also to being the partner, the other half, so to speak, of Mary Magdalene, even though they are two separate souls. It's completely off topic, but I just had to interject that here. Also, but getting back to the Archangel Stone and the fact that it is beneath the sarcophagus of Torhana, this is something that we can work with. I'm not exactly sure how yet. That is going to come later, not in this video. But that's a footnote to all of this, because there's a way to work with these energies in a very balanced, sublime way that helps take it out of the dualistic forces, the good and evil forces that are, warring to possess it, and bring it into the middle pillar, where that divine essence is transposing upon the world as a shining neutral zone, where all is blended and all is one in the divine essence of it. And there is no push and pull. So I believe I will conclude now, because this has been a long video and a lot. And as always, I go through it sort of mumbling and shuffling along, because I am researching it as I go along. And I'm bringing you into the process, looking in my manuscripts, talking about this and that, what I'm discovering with all of it. Because as some of you may not know, but most of you do, I'm looking at, 50 years plus work here that I've created, collected, transcribed, whatever, and trying to piece some of these things together that just come into my atmosphere, like with this video. I go, oh my gosh, and I want to pull it all together. And maybe it's not intended to be pulled all together. I don't know, but I seem to want to do that. So that's what my little efforts are about, looking through things and bringing them together in this manner. And even though I got my glasses, the eye doctor said they aren't going to help very much because of the cataracts, and that's a fact. They aren't helping that much. But they do help a little, but I still have a problem reading and, seeing what I'm seeing, and then I have my dyslexia. So apologies that this one was especially kind of jumpy, you know, when I'm trying to read all of this, which adds to the confusion of things. That said, I go about my business, and I feel my business is to do this. That's what I'm here for, or at least that's what I think I'm here for. And so until I get a signal otherwise, that's what I'm going to do. So here's this video for what it's worth to all of you, and God bless you.